Hey now, today we're going to take a look at the Crisis Packs for Star Realms. These are little expansion packs that you can buy to slide into your normal Star Realms main deck. And I say little because they actually come in what look like booster packs for CCGs, but they're not actually randomized at all. They're a set amount of cards. There's 4 different packs that you can buy, and you'd probably want to buy multiple packs of each if you were actually combining decks together to play with more than 2 players. But anyways, each pack has a different focus. You have bases and battleships, which, there's bases and battleships and fleets and fortresses, and those 2 packs focus on what they say that they focus on, and those are very simply just new cards similar to the types of cards we've already seen in Star Realms that you can just shuffle right into the main deck and keep playing. There's bases, ships, and all the different colors. Just same basic stuff, some new and neat cards, but nothing drastically different. The other 2 packs, however, are very different. You have the Event Crisis Pack, which has, if you've ever played Ascension, it had they're like fate cards. When they come out into the center row, an event happens right away. It usually affects all the players, and then it gets scrapped out of the main row, and a new card comes out to replace it. But it might be things like everyone draws cards, or everyone loses life, everyone gains life, authority. I always call it life. Something like that. And then the other pack is the Hero Pack, which is another new way to play the game. These cards get shuffled into the main deck, and when they come out, they're going to just be another card that you can purchase and put in front of you that are like heroes fighting the war between the different empires. But all that they're there for, you buy them right away, they go in front of you right away, you scrap them and get a special ability at a certain point. Kind of like the Gambit cards, except you just don't start the game with them. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a little more of an in-depth look at all the cards that come in these packs. Then we're going to come back and I'll let you know what I think about them all. Okay, I'm going to do a brief run-through of the stuff that comes in the 4 Crisis Packs for Star Realms. We're going to go one by one. Now, the first 2 packs, which are the Bases and Battleships and Fleets and Fortresses packs, those are kind of just basic Star Realms stuff. So there's just new cards that you can mix into the existing Star Realms cards, and they don't really change any of the main rules. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the Bases and Battlefields cards. You have cards like the Imperial Trader, which gives you 3... Let me see if I can get a little bit closer on that. There we go. Imperial Trader gives you 3 money and lets you draw a card. If you match yellow, you're going to get 4 combat, and that's for 5. That's a pretty good one, actually. Here's one of the new bases. You have the Fighter base. Target opponent discards a card if you match yellow. That's really good. You have Trade Wheel, which just gives you 1 currency. If you match green, you get 2, which is fine. It's all right. Trade Rafts gets you 1 currency. If you match blue, you get to draw a card, or you can trash it for 1 card. It's alright. Here's a really, really nasty one. The Obliterator gives you... It's a blob card that gives you 7. And 7 combat. If your opponent has 2 or more bases in play, you gain an additional 6. And if you match green, you get to draw a card. That's just insane. Although very specific for the bonus. Defense Bot just gives you 1 combat, but you may scrap a card in your hand or discard pile. If you control 2 or more bases, you gain 6, which is really, really powerful. Yeah, actually, it's 8. Boy, some of the numbers here are really, really tiny. Mega Mech gives you 6 combat, and you may return target base from play to its owner's hand. And then if you match red, you get to draw a card. And the last one we'll take a look at for this pack is Construction Hauler, which is going to give you 3 authority. I always call it health. 3 health. 2 currency, draw a card, and if you match blue, you may put the next base you acquire from your turn directly into play. That is just really, really cool. Now let's take a look at the Fleets and Fortresses. Yeah, that's what this one is. You have the Capital World, 6 authority, and draw a card, which is just insane. Death World, which is really cool, gives you 4 combat, and you may scrap a Trade Federation machine called or Star Empire, otherwise known as yellow, red, or blue card from your hand or discard pile. If you do, you get to draw a card. You have the Star Fortress. 3 combat, draw a card, then discard a card, and then you get to draw a card and discard again if you match yellow. Customs Frigate, you may acquire a ship of cost 4 or less and put it on top of your deck. If you match blue, you get 4. That's really cool, actually, and you can scrap it to draw a card. Probably the most worthless card, although I'm sure people will disagree with me, but that is the cargo launch. You play it, you draw a card, scrap it to get 1. Woohoo! And the Spike Pod, 3 combat, and you can scrap up to 2 cards currently in the trade row, trash it for 2. The Border Fort, which is an outpost, gives you 5. I'm sure some of the other ones were outposts. I haven't been keeping track of that. But 1 currency or 2 combat, and you can scrap a card in your hand or discard pile if you match red. And the final one for the Fleets and Fortresses pack, you have Patrol Bot, which I love this card. It seems really overpowered to me. You get 2 currency or 4 combat, and if you match red, you can scrap a card in your hand or discard pile. Now let's get on to the event cards. Now, all the rest of the cards were basic Star Realms rules. You mix them in just as you normally would. Now, the event cards you're going to mix in as well. They have Star Realms backs. You're going to mix them into the deck. But these are different. When an event comes out, by the way, these kind of cards would be called Fate cards in Ascension, just in case you've ever played that game. But when an event card comes out, you're going to do what the card says and then scrap the card from the center row and then replace it with another card from the deck. If that's an event too, you'll keep doing it, but you always resolve the event and then get rid of it. So let's take a look at what these are. So you have Trade Mission here, which says that the player currently taking their turn gains 4 currency and may put the next ship they acquire this turn on top of their deck. Each other player draws 2 cards. So these are just like random events that happen to everybody. And has particular effects on certain players. So Black Hole, which says that each player may discard up to 2 cards. For each card less than 2 that a player discards, that player loses 4 authority, which is really insane. Is it really 4? Yeah. Comet. Each player may scrap up to 2 cards in their hand or discard pile. Supernova. Each player loses 5 authority and scrap all cards in the trade row. Boy, it's really hard to see that text, yeah. Warp Jump. Each player draws 3 cards, then puts 2 of these cards back on top of their deck in any order. Quasar. Each player draws 2 cards. That one's pretty benign. Galactic Summit. Each player gains 7 authority. And finally, Bombardment. Each player either destroys a base they control or loses 6 authority. And the last pack we're going to take a look at is the Hero Pack. Again, these are cards that are going to get mixed into the main deck, and when they come out, they'll stay, unlike the events, these will stay in the trade row as a card that you can purchase. But heroes are like people that are going to help out your empire, and when you purchase them, they don't go into your deck, they go directly into play in front of you, and then at any point, including on the turn, I guess, that you acquire them, or anytime in the future, they'll just stay out there. You may choose to trash them the same way you would trash any other card that you have in play to gain their ability. So, for instance, let's take a look at these. The Blob Overlord here, if you choose to trash him, it's going to give you 4 combat, and he counts as a green, which means you get to kick off all of your green abilities. And sometimes, not this time, but in really tiny text, there'll be another ability underneath. So you have the High Priest Lyle. Killing him, scrapping him, trashing him, just gets you red. But then in really tiny text, it says you may scrap a card in your hand or discard a pile. So you see, it just gives you the same types of faction abilities the other cards give you. Cunning Captain matches yellow, and then target player discards a card. Ram Pilot, 2 combat, and match green. Admiral Rasmussen matches yellow and lets you draw a card. The War Elder matches red, and you may scrap a card from your hand. The Spec Ops Director matches blue, gives you 4 authority, which is pretty darn good. And CEO Taurus is going to give you 7 authority and matches blue. So those are the new cards that come in the Crisis Packs, the 4 individual Crisis Packs. Let's go ahead and get to my final thoughts. All right, well, I guess I didn't make it totally evident in my intro, but I love Star Realms. That really hasn't changed. I mean, I think that I've kind of died down on it just a tad, because I played it a lot for a while, and I got really burned out, especially playing the digital version. But it's still a fantastic game, and after revisiting it again with these packs after a couple of months of not playing it too much, it really reminded me how great of a game it is. So more Star Realms, fantastic. I think, frankly though, I think this game needs a big box expansion. It needs it soon. That's what's really going to keep it in the forefront of people and keep them interesting. I think that, look, I know that people probably get annoyed when they keep bringing up the Ascension connection, like the French connection. No, but it's the truth. This game is Star Realms is really, really similar to Ascension. The only thing that's different is the theme and the fact that you're not directly hitting people for hit points. I mean, you have faction matching, you have cards to stay out and play, you have a randomized center row, all these different things. But anyways, if you're going to compare it to Ascension, Ascension does the expansions better, I think, where you have a smaller expansion and then a bigger expansion, but each expansion has a lot of cards and can be played by themselves. So I hope that's the future for Star Realms 2. These Crisis Packs are just like a tease, like, take this, that'll keep you complacent for a little while. And that's fine. Like I said, you're probably going to need to buy multiple packs if you want to do the more than 2-player route, because otherwise, let's say you're mixing 2 decks together and you mix in just 1 pack, it's unlikely that you're going to run into them very soon. Now, if you mix in all 4 packs and you don't care about necessarily not seeing too many heroes or events, then you might be okay. But anyways, let's talk about each individual pack and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Well, the 2 best packs by far, this is in my opinion, are the Bases and Battleships. It's Bases and Battleships, right? Or Battlefields. Battleships, and the Fleets and Fortresses. And you might say, oh, that's boring, they're just like the other cards. Well, no, exactly, they're just like the other cards. I wanted more variety into the Star Realms deck, and now I have it, which is great. And some of these cards are really, really cool. Some of them are like really overpowered. There's that one red faction machine cult card that's like a missile bot, but way better. Or like maybe a slightly weaker one of the other scrap bots, but having to choose between currency and combat and still being able to scrap a card if you match red, it's just awesome. It's only for like 2 currency. And there's some other really powerful ones as well. So the blue cards get represented. That's probably my favorite faction. I think a lot of people love that faction because it's really easy to totally overpower your opponent with it. But more great cards about, automatically purchasing cards, putting them on top of your deck, things like that. So there's a lot to love with these 2 new packs, and it's just more of the same, but that's fantastic. That's a really, really good thing. And I think that that's probably where you could stop these Crisis Packs and have a good time. Buy as many of those as you need to flesh out your deck, and then stop. No, I'm not trashing the other 2 packs. I just don't think that they're all that necessary. The 2 other packs are Events and Heroes, and the Events are fine. It's just that I was never a fan of the Fate cards from Ascension. We'll compare it to Ascension again. Fate cards come out and they do something, and then everyone's affected, and then they're there. And the thing about Ascension's Fate cards, though, were that those were actually, they stayed there, and they're cards that you could actually purchase and use. None of them were all that great because they were Fate cards, in my opinion. I don't remember any really memorable cards that happened to be Fate cards. Maybe I'm just forgetting them, but at least they were there, and you could do something with them, and you could purchase them. These cards in the Crisis Pack are just come out, boom, grenade explodes, hits everybody, then it goes away, and then it's like, what just happened? And if it makes everyone draw 2 cards, well, okay, that could just seriously give someone a huge edge, because now, oh, hey, look, now I can afford that Commands Cruiser, the best card in the game. All right. Or it could really, really screw people over. We actually had, in one of our games, someone die because of one of the cards that makes people lose authority. And let me tell you something. You might think, that's fantastic. It's really not. It's like the most unsatisfying way to win a game ever. or definitely to lose a game ever. So, I'm just not into the, here's some random nonsense that happens. I know that there's people who like Star Realms because it's, when played as a 2-player game, it can feel deterministic at times. Yeah, it's random, but it's like you're building the deck the way you want it to, and you're kind of got a plan coming out, and the factions that you're going after, and then these event cards come out and could totally screw all that up. So, not a huge fan of the event cards, but I guess they're fine if you really need some random variety in it. The hero cards, again, they're okay. I really wanted more out of these when I heard the concept of the hero cards without looking too much into them. I'm sure they had rules out before, I just didn't pay attention, but I had this grand idea about what they might be, that they might behave like the other cards that you purchase and put into your deck in Star Realms, but that they maybe have some really cool special abilities and change the game in some sort of fundamental way. But really, again, like I mentioned, they're just like Gambit cards that you acquire during the game. You just buy them and trash them at some point, get some ability, and then they're done, and that's it. Really? I mean, I picture heroes in the war between the Galactic Empires thematically being much more serious. This is essentially just like, hey, thanks, glad to have you on the team. Get out there, do something. Oh, you died. Oh well, let's get another one. That's what it's like. So thematically, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and none of them are really like. I mean, they could be the turning point of like if you really need to match red this turn and get like that combat boost or something. But I don't know. I wanted more from them, and they don't feel that relevant. Like I don't like some of the art on some of them. That's just a quibbling thing. I don't like the art of the blob people, but I don't really want to play with them. So I probably won't in the future unless like I show it to people and they're like, oh, this seems cool, let's play with them. But for me, the least favorite of the Crisis packs by far, and it should have been my favorite. So that's kind of what's disappointing me. But I don't mean to be too negative. I love the two basic packs, the bases and battleships and fleets and fortresses. I call them basic packs because they're just adding in new standard cards into the set. Fantastic. Get them. Love it. If it'll tide you over until they give you a big expansion set. The events, heroes, they're just fine. If you need to be a completionist, they're cheap. That's the one thing about all of these. But where it's at are the bases and battleships and fleets and fortresses. Love those. I could do without the others. That is the Crisis packs, the Crisis booster packs for Star Realms.